Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some of my top eyeshadow tricks, some of the things that I do to do my eyeshadow or to do eyeshadow on other people to make it look blended, airbrushed, professional, and perfect, but with very little effort. Something very easy. I feel like anyone can accomplish this look, whether you are just getting into makeup or you've been doing makeup and struggling with it for years. I hope you guys find this video helpful. If you do and you enjoy it, please like it, leave a comment down below, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I have already primed my eyelids. I always put an eyeshadow primer on before I do my eye makeup. This is not really an option for me. I just feel like this is kind of a non-negotiable. If you want your eyeshadow to really show up and to stay on all day, one of my favorite primers at the moment is Milani eyeshadow primer. I actually have been using this for quite some time. It's a fantastic eyeshadow primer and it's drugstore, so it's a really great price. So next, I always set that with a little bit of loose powder. You can also use an eyeshadow that's matte and that's about the color of your skin tone or maybe a little bit lighter. Today I have this Danessa Myricks translucent powder, so I'm just going to go in and set it with that. What this is going to do is basically, one, set that eyeshadow primer, but it's also going to give a nice smooth surface. So when you go to apply your crease color, your eyelid color, it's just a nice, soft, smooth canvas, so shadow doesn't stick and it blends out really nicely. So the next thing I always do is I apply my crease color, my transition color, my prime color, as I was taught this technique way back in the day when I worked for MAC, like, what was that? 12, 14, 15 years ago. This was something that we always taught our makeup artists. If you're newer to my channel, I did work for MAC Cosmetics for about 6 years. 2 of those years I was a trainer for the company, so I actually traveled around South Texas and taught new artists makeup artistry, trained all of our new employees on product development, customer service, makeup artistry, all of that. And we used to send our new artists to what we called basic training, which was a full week of artistry focused training. So it was all about how to apply makeup. And this was one of the, I think this was like the second or third day of basic training. It was something that we always taught our makeup artists, and that was to use a prime color, also known as a crease color. So when you look for a prime color, what you want to start with is a shadow that is a few shades darker than your natural skin tone. That's the first thing. A shadow that is matte. You don't want anything with a lot of shimmer to it or a sheen. You want something matte, and I'll go into why in just a moment. And you want it to have a cool tone. Now that's kind of optional. I don't always use a cool tone. Sometimes I use warmer tones. I like to use warm tones because it kind of brings out the green in my eyes. But if you really look at what a crease color is or a transition color is, it's supposed to mimic an actual shadow, in which case it would be matte, a little bit darker than your skin tone, and cool tone, because shadows are more of a gray cast to them, right? They're not orange looking or warm, they're more cool tone. However, you will see me very often do warm colors in my crease. I just wanted to give you that little basic bit of knowledge. So I'm going to go ahead and start with applying this color in my crease. This is by Anastasia Beverly Hills, and I will have everything linked down below with the shades that I used. I don't know the shade of this, but I will find out and link it down below. So as you can tell, this is a matte shade. It's a little bit darker than my natural skin tone, and it's neutral, and it's cool tone. So I'm going to use a 224 brush by MAC, a soft fluffy brush. I'm just going to go and sweep this back and forth in my crease. Now, the reason that you want matte is, again, it's supposed to mimic a shadow. You want it to be cool toned because that is going to create the closest, because that is going to mimic the appearance of a shadow, which is going to create depth. So the easiest way to imagine it or to visualize it when you're thinking of where to contour, where to highlight, because essentially what we're doing right now is we're contouring the eye. Just like we contour the cheeks or we contour the nose, we are contouring the eye by doing this step. If you were to imagine someone had a flashlight and was shining it on your face, imagine where that light is going to hit your face is where you'd put your highlight, right? That's why we see people put lightness here, lightness down the center of the nose, lightness here, because that light is hitting all of those areas of the face, the high planes of the face. Now, where light is created, there's always going to be a shadow below that, and that's where your contour goes. So highlight is right here on the brow bone, contour and shadow is right below that. Highlight is right here on the high planes of your cheekbones, contour is right below that. Highlight is down the center of your nose, contour is on the side of it, it's the shadow. So when you were thinking about where to highlight and contour, Think of that analogy as a way to kind of guide you. So what this is going to do is create more depth for the eye. If you have a hooded eye or if you don't have a really defined crease, doing this step is going to create that definition. It's also going to tone down any colors that you might want to use on your eyelids. So if you're someone that is really attracted to bright, bold, beautiful colors on your eyelids, but you're not quite sure how to wear it, using a transition or a crease color like this is really going to tie it and pull it all together and make it look more professional. I worked with a gal, she was actually my boss at MAC, and she always used this analogy, and I think it's perfect. You know, if you saw someone walk into the room and they had a lime green top, lime green pants, lime green headband, purse, all of that, it'd be like, whoa, maybe a little too much. But if you saw someone come in with more neutral colors and a lime green accessory, it works. You know, if you can think about wearing color on your eyes the same way, think of it as an accessory and not the whole look. That's really how you're going to be able to pull off those bold, bright colors, but still look appropriate, still look pretty, still look professional. Now next, we want to apply our eyelid color. I'm going to keep this look super simple. I'm going to keep it down to 3 colors, the one in my crease, on my eyelid, and underneath my brow. You can certainly go and add more, and I'll talk about that at the end of this tutorial, but for timing purposes and to keep this concise, I want to keep it simple. So next I'm going to apply a color on my lid, and by all means, this is not a rule. You don't have to do it this way, but if you want to create an eye that has more dimension, that has more of a defined crease and make your eyelids look larger or pop, then you want to use something with a little bit of shimmer, and I'm going to use this shade right here. So you can see that this color has some shimmer to it. It is lighter than the color that I put in my crease. So those two colors next to each other, the shimmer and the brightness is going to reflect light, and that darker matte color in the crease is going to absorb light. So it's essentially making my eyelid look like it's coming out further and my crease looking like it's going back. So that's what's creating that dimension. And I am going to grab a flatter, stiffer, smaller brush, and I'm going to load up this side of that brush. And then I'm just going to go and I'm just going to pack that right onto the eyelid. I am pressing my brush rather than sweeping it back and forth, which is what I did in my crease, because what I want to do with this technique is apply more color, whereas in the crease I wanted to keep it real soft. So if you can compare the two eyes, you can clearly see that this eye clearly looks like it has more dimension. It's popping more. You can see the shimmer reflects a lot more light. For underneath the brow, you can certainly use a shimmer or a matte. I like either a matte shadow or I like something with a little bit of sheen, nothing too shimmery. That's my personal preference. Today's look, I'm going to go in, I'm going to use this white shade. It looks very stark white, but it actually applies pretty nicely on the brow bone. And I'm going to use the same brush that I used for my eyelid. However, I am kind of running it across the paper towel to get some of that color off. And I'm just going to go right in here. So again, if you imagine that flashlight, the light would be hitting the brow bone because that's a raised plane on the face. It's a higher plane on the face. Now just for fun, I know I said I was going to keep it to 3 simple shadows, but I want to show you one last trick just to bump it up a little bit, is adding a darker color in your outer corner. If this scares you, if you feel like you get to this point and then you add that darker color and then you have a big mess, I'm going to show you a trick to help eliminate that mess. So the easiest way to kind of foolproof or dummy proof this step is to take a very small brush to apply your dark color. So in front of me I have the Sigma Short Shader E20 brush. You can see that this brush is very small, very dense. So I'm going to use this to basically apply the color. Then I'm going to go back in with a bigger, softer, fluffier brush to sheer it out, blend it out. If I were to go directly in with this brush, chances are I would get a lot more of that dark color that I wanted. I would have a harder time controlling where it goes, and I would end up with just too much darkness all over my eye, when really I just want to concentrate it right here on the outer corner. So that's what I'm going to use this brush for. I'm going to go back into this Viseart palette. So basically what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a shade that is deeper than the color that I put in my crease. And just for fun, we'll use this one right here. It's kind of like this grayish matte brown, and I'm just going to load my brush up, tap it off, and I'm just going to create this little V shape. Just going to create this little V. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's okay if it looks like, you know, kind of messy, not super blended, because this brush is not a blending brush. We are not trying to blend it. We are just trying to put it right where I want it, which is right there. Then we're going to go in with that softer brush. I didn't put any of that color on here, and I'm just going to go and work that back and forth to soften all the edges. I still want that concentration in the outer corner. I don't want to bring it all the way over, but I just want to soften the edges. And if you need to, you can always go in with a little bit of the darker color on the tip of the brush, but you don't need much. And there you go. Simple as that. So adding that darker color on the outer corner is going to do a couple things. It's going to kind of bump the look up a little bit, make it a little bit more dramatic, a little more glamorous. It's also going to make that color on the lid pop that much more. The trick is that you don't really want to bring it all the way over. You still want to see that original color that you put in your crease. I do have tutorials where I go into how I line my eyes a little bit more into depth. For timing purposes, I want to keep this video focused on the eyeshadow. For lower lash line, I always like to go in with a soft kohl pencil first, and then I like to soften it with an eyeshadow. I prefer to use brown on my lower lash line. I don't like the way black looks on my eyes. I feel like it looks a little too harsh. Certainly that's not the case for everyone, and really do what you prefer. You don't have to follow my rules. I'm using the Flower Beauty Vinyl Eyes in the shade Bronzed Out. This is a really pretty, about medium level brown. It's not really light, but it's not super dark. It's not close to black or anything, and it has a little bit of gold specks to it. So I'm just going to go, and I start in the outer corner, and I take it about halfway over. I don't take it all the way over because this pencil is pretty soft. I can smudge it if I work with it quickly before it has time to set, and I'm going to smudge it over. If I go all the way over with this pencil, I'm going to get too much product, and I don't want that much underneath my lash line. I'm going to take that same brush that I used for my very outer V, and I'm going to kind of wipe off that dark shadow because I don't want it to be that dark. I'm going to go in with the same color that I used in my crease, which is this one right here. Even though it doesn't look dark, mixing it with this darker eyeliner, it's going to look darker than it really is. So you don't need to use a shadow that is really dark on the lower lash line to still get a nice dark look, if that makes sense. And I'm just going directly over that. So using that shadow is going to set that pencil to keep it from smudging. It's also going to soften it and just give a more smokier look. One other tip that I always do is I line the inner rim of my eye with something really bright. I'm using the Wet n Wild. This is actually a brow highlighter crayon. I like this because it's pretty bright, but it has a pink undertone to it. I feel like this just contrasts with the lower lash line really nice. It just brightens the eyes. I feel like it makes it look more awake. And this is the final look. Very simple to do, but I feel like it's a pretty glamorous eye makeup look. Again, you can certainly skip the outer V and have something much softer, more everyday, save yourself a few minutes. But I hope you guys found this tutorial very easy. I feel like this makeup is kind of my go-to look. And I'm not saying it looks super special, but I do feel like it looks pretty well done, and it looks professional, and it looks very well put together, but it's very simple and very easy, and there's no reason anyone can't do it. Yes, I'm a makeup artist, and yes, I have lots of experience when it comes to makeup, but I really try and keep my tutorials and my tips broken down so they're super simple and that any woman can do them, whether you've been doing makeup for 20 years or for 2 weeks. So if you found this video helpful, please let me know in the comment section below. I love reading your comments and getting all your feedback. Also, if you think this video would be helpful to any of your friends, I would love it if you would share it on your social media or shoot it in a text message or send it to a friend in an email. I always love when you guys share my content. So thank you guys so much for all your support. As always, I will see you all in my next video. Bye!